Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining me in my exploration of the wide world of pens, the amazing, incredible, diverse, interesting, wide world of pens. And yes, you see one being held up by a crab, worthy of turntable display. And hopefully the visuals are catching your eye. Certainly a very, very intriguing color. And an interesting shape, which I think is fairly unique, but I know my viewers out there have a wide range of pens that they might compare this to, so chime in with the comments of a pen you might think inspired Vazir. We're going to look at the bits and pieces of this pen, give you the plus and minuses, and show you the pen to see if this is a pen you might like. Mr. Crab will give you a wink and we'll dive in. So the first thing you notice as you pick up the pen, it feels very substantial. It's not a small pen. Vazir is known for their larger pens. They're all engraved there at the end of the barrel, and that engraving is filled in with some opaque material. It'll show a little wear here and there, but I think that's just a nice little feature. The flat is flat. The pen will stand up on your desk if you would like. Dimensions are extremely well done. Cap comes off in the standard Vazir, about 2.5 turns. And we'll see a very interesting nib, which is one of the options that you have when you order the pen. And the size of the nib is engraved on the side of the nib. We see a Yovo feed, which is quite nice. The other thing you'll notice is that section is nice and long. It's not very big, and it's a standard designed round section, unlike the interesting flat spots on the pen itself. And yes, the Vazir doesn't line up with the nib, but it fits well in your hand this way because that rounded part here is what fits up against the side of your hand, so that's good. You know, when you design a pen, there's so many different variables that take into account, and these are all handmade pens. So therefore, you got to do a lot of work and be consistent in your work. You just don't got to program a machine to do it for you. And as you might guess from the shape and design, this is not a pen that you would post. Not even close, but, you know, as I would say, you just put your cap to the side like that. And my pen friends are extremely interested in the pen as they've come out to observe the pen as I'm showing it to you. The other thing that you'll probably guess is it's a cartridge converter. The barrel unscrews a number of turns, and it's your classic Schmidt converter. They're upscale converters in my view of converters. Fits very snugly, has that metal ring and that rubber insert. So all in all, a very, very nice pen. The other thing you'll notice is that this resin is very thick, which gives the pen that nice weight of about 30 grams. Sound familiar? I'm extremely pleased with what Vazir has done with this pen. Let's ink it up and see how it writes. You may notice that every time you see the pen capped, the flat sides all match up. That's because the way the threading is done, it happens all the time. You don't have to worry about how you start the threading. When you're done, they line up. That's a very, very well done design. I like it. I don't mind the 2.5 turns. Every time you pick up the pen, it's symmetrically aligned. Ooh, we like that. So I mentioned a little bit about a pen that might resemble the Paradox, and some people might think of the Nicoya dorsal fin, but that's a different design, as you can see. The other pen that comes to mind, at least to my mind, is the Pelican Twist. But again, it's a different approach. And I think this is a good way of looking at it, at the polished acrylic resin here, hand done, versus an injection molded plastic. This certainly doesn't have the same feel as the Paradox. Henceforth, there's a price difference. Yes, we're going to try an ink I haven't used in a very long time again. Jehorbon. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. And yes, it is in the purple family. I hate these bottles. They are too shallow. When you put the pen in to fill it, you don't get any ink drawn up, because where it draws up the ink here is not in the ink. So you got to try to angle the bottle and angle the pen and pull up the ink. It took me a lot of effort to get it full, but I did get a pretty full fill there. Here's the ink on a paper towel. I think that color is perfect for what the pen is, and I do like using a color ink similar to the color of the pen. Then I can remember what ink color is in a pen, and when I want a particular color ink, it's easy to find one of the 50 pens I have inked up that I wanted to write with. So one pen to compare this to, which I just reviewed, was the Vazir Pop, which also had a fine steel Vazir nib. This has a little bit more feedback, which again I'm fine with. Puts down a little bit thinner line, so this is more of a finer nib than the Vazir Pop had. But it still is a very pleasant writer and decently wet. So here's an interesting comparison between the Pop and the Paradox. Hopefully you can see that this line is just slightly thinner, but certainly well within the definition of a fine nib. And also the differences of the ink, the Warren Klinger Casio versus the Jehorbon Purple. I'm not going to pronounce the French version of it. And one of the things that I'm impressed about is this is a darker color, darker than I expected, and this is definitely a much brighter purple. This is more of a dusty purple. Inks have such a variety to them. So we've come to the end of the video review. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. So let's show you the dimensions of this pen. And as I said, it's an interesting design. I really do enjoy the color, the shape, the finish. I talked about uncapping, and it is 2.5 turns, as I measured it a little bit more precisely. Still a fair number. And it does fit very nicely in the hand. All my Vazir pens are good writers, good ergonomic fits, at least the way I enjoy writing with my pens. And speaking of writing with the pens, let's do our finishing of the video with some writing. So I think you could see that this nib just slightly opens up with a fair amount of pressure. Not something you would do on a regular basis, but it is a smooth, consistent writer. And I enjoy it. I always enjoy a little bit of a different looking pen, and this one fits that category very well. And a good writer, feels good in the hand. Oh, that's all we need. So I want to thank all of you for watching. I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy. enjoying your pens, finding some new pens to enjoy. That's the fun part. And I certainly do enjoy that part of my fountain pens. So we've reached the end. And at the bottom of the paper, so we will say bye. Have one more Vazir to review, which I think will be quite nice.